I've gone back through this night more times than I can count. Not because the footage is rare, half of it came from Telegram channels on both sides before sunrise. I keep coming back because of the number. 341 drones, 6 cruise missiles, 1 target set. Nothing this size had ever crossed the border in a single wave. At 0000 hours local time, the first launch rail tips up in a tree line outside Sumy. A Liuchi-type strike drone, 13 feet of plywood and carbon fiber, drops off the rack and claws for altitude on a 2-stroke engine that sounds like a lawnmower. Behind it, more rails tip up, second, third. Within 4 minutes, over 300 of them are in the air, spread across a front nearly 200 miles wide. The target sits 410 miles east, a fuel and rail logistics hub that keeps 3 different Russian army groups supplied. Command bunkers call it critical infrastructure. I call it a choke point. Every artillery shell fired on that front this month passed through it first. What the operators launching these drones don't know is that Russia has spent the last 8 months rebuilding exactly the kind of layered defense built to stop a night like this. 5 systems stacked front to back. What the defenders don't know is that this isn't 341 targets. It's one plan wearing 341 faces. The first drones cross the border climbing through 8,000 feet, engines throttled back to stretch fuel. Somewhere ahead of them, a dish starts turning. That dish belongs to a Nebo-M radar complex, dug into a tree line 18 miles inside Russian territory. It's built to see exactly this, a decimeter band array that can pick a target out of ground clutter other radars just give up on, reaching out past 200 miles under the right conditions. On paper, this single site should end the raid before it starts. In reality, it doesn't. A Liuchi holds under 5 square feet of radar cross-section, smaller than a family car, and it's flying low enough that curvature of the Earth swallows most of that range before the beam ever reaches it. The operator gets flickers. A return here, gone, back again 40 seconds later, 11 miles away. Nothing steady enough to hand off as a clean track. He logs it as clutter, birds, weather. 3 separate times that night, he's wrong. The clock keeps running, fuel keeps burning. And somewhere behind that tree line, a second system is already spinning up. At 0:21 hours, 40 miles further east, an S-400 battery gets its first real contact. A cluster of 6 drones bunched too tight, moving too straight, finally gives the radar something to hold. Missiles leave the tubes within 90 seconds. 2 of the 6 never make it past the fence line. The S-400 is not a system anyone should underestimate. Its 4.8N6 interceptors can reach out past 250 miles against a fast, high target, riding a warhead built to shred anything within 70 feet of the burst. Against fighters and cruise missiles at altitude, it's one of the most dangerous things in the sky. Against something the size of a jet ski flying 200 feet off the ground at 90 miles an hour, it's a different fight. The seeker head that hunts fast movers struggles to separate a slow drone from the terrain scrolling underneath it. Crews call it the low-slow problem, and it's the reason those 2 kills only happened because the drones bunched up and gave the radar an easy read. The other 4 scatter, drop lower, and keep going. The battery gets 1 more shot off in the next 6 minutes. It hits nothing but sky. 2 down, 339 still flying, and ahead of them, the sky itself starts to lie. 14 miles past the missile belt, a Krasukha 4 jamming station lights up its transmitters. This is Russia's heaviest electronic warfare system, built to blind radar and choke satellite navigation across a radius that stretches past 150 miles under good conditions. Tonight, it's aimed squarely at the GPS signal every drone in this wave depends on to find its way home. Here's the piece that decides the next 20 minutes. GPS signals arrive from 12,000 miles up, weaker than a whisper. A jammer doesn't need to overpower that whisper. It only needs to shout louder than it. Krasukha does exactly that, flooding the corridor with noise until receivers lose the real signal in the static. Most of the wave feels it immediately. 22 drones drift off course and either loop back or crash into open fields, their onboard logic unable to tell real coordinates from garbage. It's the single most effective layer of the night. For a jamming crew watching their scopes fill with fading signals, this is the moment it looks like the raid is coming apart. It isn't, because roughly a third of this wave was never counting on GPS to survive this stretch. This is the part of the story preparation was built for. Buried in each of those drones is a backup guidance chip that doesn't listen to satellites at all, an inertial system that tracks its own turns and speed from the moment it launched. The same principle sailors used to cross oceans before satellites existed. It drifts a little over distance. It can't be jammed at all because it isn't listening for anything. It's counting. Layered behind that, a subset of the drones are simply following terrain, programmed to hug a rail line, then a river, then a highway interchange, reading the ground itself instead of a signal from space. Through the heaviest jamming corridor Russia can produce, over 100 drones keep flying straight, dumb, and correct, because nothing about them depended on a signal that could be drowned out. The jamming crew watches their scopes and believes they've won. The truth is scrolling past them at 90 miles an hour, guided by nothing they can touch. At 01:02 hours, the wave crosses its final line and the target set splits. This was always the plan. What started as one attack on one logistics hub breaks into 3 separate strikes. The fuel storage tanks, the rail transfer yard where 6 loaded trains sit waiting, and the maintenance hall where armored repair crews keep the front supplied with working vehicles. 60 drones peel toward the tanks, 140 toward the rail yard. The rest converge on the maintenance hall. Air defense crews who spent the last hour tracking one incoming mass now have to solve 3 problems at once, with radar picture already fractured by 2 hours of clutter, jamming, and false returns. That's when the point defense line finally gets a clean shot. A Pantsir S-1 dug in beside the maintenance hall picks up the inbound cluster at just under 6 miles and opens up with its twin 30mm cannons, walls of tracer climbing into the dark. 11 drones come apart in the first 90 seconds. It's the single best engagement of the night for the defenders, proof that up close with radar and guns married together, this system earns every ruble spent on it. But 11 is not 60. The Pantsir has 1 radar and 1 set of guns. It can only be in one place, tracking 1 thread through the swarm, while drones arrive from 6 different bearings at once. While it's chewing through the tank cluster, the rail yard group and the second half of the maintenance hall group fly past it entirely, low and wide, outside its narrow field of view. By 01:19 hours, 31 drones are through every layer, past every dish, every missile, every gun. 31 out of 341 that launched 2 hours earlier. The tanks go first. The first drone punches through a containment berm and detonates against a storage vessel holding several thousand gallons of diesel. The fireball climbs past 200 feet within seconds, heat you can feel from a quarter-mile back, and within 4 minutes, 3 more drones have found the same tank farm, each impact opening a new vessel to the fire already spreading between them. At the rail yard, it's arithmetic, car by car. The drones that make it through don't need to hit every wagon. They only need to hit the right ones. 2 strikes land on fuel tankers near the front of the line. The resulting blast wave and fire jump down the coupled cars faster than any crew can uncouple them, turning 6 loaded trains into one continuous fire that burns for the rest of the night. At the maintenance hall, the final 4 drones that survive the Pantsir's guns punch through a roof built for artillery shrapnel, not 6-foot flying wings arriving at 90 miles an hour. 2 repair bays collapse inward. The vehicles inside them, tanks and infantry carriers mid-repair, won't reach the front this month or the next. By dawn, the tally is ugly on both sides, and that's exactly the point. 341 drones launched, around 280 shot down, jammed off course, or lost to mechanical failure over 4 hours. 61 made it through every layer to some kind of impact. 31 hit their intended targets cleanly. That is not a flawless raid. It's a raid that worked because it never needed to be flawless. It only needed enough of the swarm to survive the arithmetic. Step back from the fire, and the numbers matter more than the footage. First, this wasn't really an attack on a fuel depot or a rail yard. It was an attack on a supply chain. Every shell, every spare part, every liter of diesel that has to pass through this junction to reach the front line east of it. Second, no single Russian system failed that night. The radar did its job. The missile battery did its job. The jammers did their job. What failed was the seam between them. The 6 minutes here, the 7 minutes there, where one layer hands off to the next, and a third of the raid slips through the gap. Third, preparation, not technology, decided who got through. The drones built with inertial backups and terrain-following logic survived a jamming corridor that stopped nearly a quarter of the wave outright. The ones that depended on a single signal from space didn't. This is the trade defining this war now. Machines that cost less than a used car, built in the tens of thousands, against defense networks that cost more than small nations. And the lesson for anyone watching from Moscow isn't about this one depot. It's that no rear area, 400 miles deep, behind 5 layers of defense, is far enough anymore to guarantee a quiet night. If you found this breakdown useful, the subscribe button and the notification bell make sure you catch the next one the moment it drops. And I want to hear this from you directly. With electronic warfare stopping nearly a quarter of a raid like this outright, is the future of these strikes about building smarter drones, or just building more of them?